He stood there in silence, staring at the little girl who meant the whole world to him. His daughter. His only child. The one who carried his late wife's eyes, smile, and innocence. And yet, she had never once called him daddy. She had never spoken a single word in her short life. For years he had tried everything: specialists, therapists, expensive treatments, countless toys, and endless hours of waiting by her side, hoping that one day, her tiny lips would open and she would let the sound of her voice flow into the world. But nothing worked. And every silent day was another stab in his heart. Friends told him to be patient. Doctors told him to prepare for the possibility that she might never speak. Relatives whispered cruelly behind his back, some saying it was his fault, others pitying the little girl who would never call out to her father. But he refused to give up. He prayed each night, holding her small hand tightly, whispering softly, "One day, my princess, one day I'll hear your voice." He couldn't explain it, but he believed deep inside that his little girl could speak. She just needed the right moment, the right connection. He just didn't know when or if it would ever come. That day started like any other. A chilly morning in the city, where life was rushing past him as he sat on a bench at the local playground. His daughter, Emma, sat beside him holding her stuffed rabbit, as quiet as always, her big eyes following the other children laughing, shouting, and playing together. He wanted her to join them so badly, but every time she tried, she froze. Words never came. Only silence. He sighed, pulling his coat tighter, wondering how long he could keep pretending everything was fine. And that's when he walked in. A man carrying a small boy, laughing loudly, his jacket slightly worn, his hands rough, his face tired but warm. A single dad, you could tell just by the way he kept glancing at his son, protective yet encouraging. They didn't have much, but they had something powerful: connection. He set the boy down, and instantly the playground lit up with the child's energy. The little boy ran, fell, laughed, and looked back at his father, who clapped proudly, cheering, "That's my boy." The CEO, because that's who Emma's father was, a man of wealth and success in business but bankrupt in the one thing that mattered most, watched silently. He had built an empire, signed billion-dollar deals, traveled across the world, yet here he was, powerless in front of his own child's silence. Emma's eyes locked on the little boy. She didn't blink. She didn't move. Something in her stirred. The single dad noticed. He smiled warmly, not the kind of smile rich men give to strangers, but the kind of smile that says, "I see you, and you matter." He walked closer, his son following. "Hey there," he said gently, crouching down to Emma's level. "This is my son, Noah. He loves making new friends. Would you like to play with him?" The CEO stiffened, ready to protect his daughter, to politely decline as he had so many times before, but before he could say a word, Emma's hand twitched. She clutched her rabbit tighter. Her eyes darted from Noah to his father and then back to her own dad. Something was happening. Noah smiled the way only children can. "Hi. Want to swing?" he asked innocently. For the first time in her life, Emma opened her mouth as if to speak, but no sound came. She hesitated, trembling. Her father held his breath, his heart racing, afraid to move, afraid to break the fragile miracle that was unfolding. The single dad placed a gentle hand on Noah's shoulder. "It's okay," he whispered to his son. "She'll talk when she's ready." Then, turning back to Emma, he said with complete kindness, "You don't have to say anything, sweetie. Just nod if you want. Emma blinked. And then, she nodded. Her father gasped silently. She responded. It wasn't speech, not yet, but it was the first real sign of connection she had made outside their home. Tears stung his eyes. He wanted to thank the man, but before he could, Noah laughed and reached out his hand. Come on, I'll show you the best slide. Emma looked at her father, hesitating, and for the first time, he didn't guide her. He didn't shield her. He let her decide. And to his shock, she slowly placed her tiny hand in Noah's. The two children ran toward the slide, Emma clutching her rabbit tightly in one arm, but her steps lighter than he had ever seen. He followed with his eyes, his chest tight with something he hadn't felt in years: hope. The single dad sat beside him on the bench. He didn't boast, he didn't pity, he didn't ask questions. He just sat there like they were old friends. You know, he said after a long pause, sometimes kids don't need doctors or fancy toys. Sometimes they just need someone to see them. Someone who doesn't expect anything from them except to just be. The CEO's throat tightened. He had poured millions into treatments, flown across countries searching for answers, but he had never considered something as simple as kindness. And then it happened. Emma climbed up the slide with Noah cheering her on. At the top, she froze, her little body stiff with fear. She looked down at her father, her lips trembling. He stood up instinctively, wanting to rush in and save her, but then Noah called out, "You can do it, Emma." The sound of her name. Emma's mouth opened, her eyes wide. And for the first time in her life, she whispered, shaky and soft but clear enough for the world to hear, "Daddy." The CEO froze. The word hit him like lightning, burning through every wall of sorrow, every sleepless night, every failure. She had spoken. She had called for him. "Daddy." Tears streamed down his face as he stumbled forward, his knees weak. The playground seemed to stop. Even Noah stared in awe. The single dad's eyes glistened, and he nodded slowly, as if to say, "I told you she just needed the right moment." Emma slid down, landed safely, and ran straight into her father's arms. He scooped her up, holding her close, sobbing into her hair. "You did it, princess," he whispered through his tears. You spoke to me." That day, the CEO learned a lesson no boardroom could teach, no wealth could buy, that love, patience, and simple human kindness were stronger than any treatment in the world. And it was a single dad at the playground, a stranger with nothing but a heart full of compassion, who gave him the gift he had prayed for all these years: the sound of his daughter's voice. And to everyone listening right now, remember this: miracles don't always come wrapped in money, or science, or power. Sometimes, they come from the kindness of strangers, from the simple act of reaching out when someone needs it most. If this story touched your heart, don't forget to like this video and subscribe to Kindness Stories, because in a world that often feels cold and distant, we all need reminders that kindness can change everything. And sometimes, it can even give a child her very first word.